Hi everybody, it is Carla, that's me, Cosmic Crone, and I'm here to sort out some of the energy of Sun conjunct Pluto moving into Aquarius. And I am moved to do this, to share this with you, partly because I'm grappling with it. I can feel something so strong stirring in me, and I feel if I talk to you about it, I will understand more about what it is. Inspired, ooh, nose itching. I'm inspired to do this by looking at my own chart as Pluto transits. Pluto and the Sun are transiting, and looking at all the places where today's chart, 7:57 p.m. Eastern Time, is the first moment that Pluto crosses over into Aquarius, where it will meet the Sun. The Sun has been there since this morning. That exact conjunction was late yesterday. And so as I ponder, what is Pluto in Aquarius telling me? I look at how Lilith is activated in my chart. And I look at how Venus and Chiron are activated in my chart. Over the next 3 years, Pluto will be moving over my Venus-Chiron conjunction in Aquarius, and that seems to speak to me very strongly of what's going on in my life, what is being asked of me. And my Sedna, my Eris, my Mars, they're all activated in this chart. So that got me thinking, well, what the heck does this mean for real? So, working with the client, I came across this quote that I made, and then today I was speaking with my mentor and friend Jeanette, and she has a long-standing Buddhist meditation practice, as well as being a student of one of my teachers, the Native American mystic, Grandfather Joseph Rael. And this relationship of light and dark is incredibly important, and these practices and these mystic teachers are teaching us how to walk with this truth. Because we humans, we have this tendency to say light is good and dark is bad, or dark is scary, or dark is hard. And you know what? It is all those things, and it is necessary. So here is how this Sun conjunct Pluto is an annual reminder of these truths. And I'm going to share them with you. The Sun, the light bringer, I have my notes over here if I look off to the side. The Sun, the light and life bringer, shines into the darkness. And there are memes that say the light chases away the darkness. There is no darkness in the presence of light. But that is not accurate. Darkness reveals itself and bursts into consciousness. The dark absorbs all light. The dark, Grandfather Joseph teaches us that the dark contains all of the light. A black hole. It absorbs all of the energy that approaches it. So this is mysterious. The Sun goes into the dark to die. The Sun goes into the dark not to illuminate, but to surrender. And then the dark latches onto the light and emerges. It is a mystery. It is a mystery. And so the invitation of Sun conjunct Pluto is to remember that we are all walking in this light, dark mystery, and we have stories throughout history, throughout religious traditions, spiritual traditions, and spiritual practices throughout history that teach us in an embodied way. Nature teaches us in an embodied way about this mystery. So Peter Kingsley says, there is nothing as fresh as what's been fetched straight from the darkness. And nothing as alive as what's just arrived from the world of the dead. So we are in this moment right now, and in the Northern Hemisphere, we are in the time, the light is starting to return, but it is still deep winter. The ground is frozen, the trees are bare. Spring feels a long way off. We are in single digits here in Maine. So we are in this darkness season, the quote, dead season. Well, the life has gone underground. That's all. And that is necessary. So think, how does it work? The sun returns, the leaves quicken, the buds start to swell on the trees, even in February, long before they're going to leaf out. Think of Persephone. She was the queen of the underworld, and she must return to the land of the sun to fulfill her purpose as queen of the underworld. And then after a period in the sun, she goes back. Now Pluto, one reason he wanted Persephone is that he seems to be confined to the underworld, and so he wanted a bride of the light. Why? Because the light and the dark are one. They are a sacred union, and they need each other. So we think of the other avatars of light and dark. Inanna descending, Yeshua the Christ, Isis, Osiris. It happens over and over and over. And it's part of the grand story of nature. Nature teaches our bodies how to live with this truth. We flip a switch when the sun goes down, and we do not spend time in the dark. Think of the moon cycle, the dark of the moon, the full moon, our own bodies. We live, we die, our lifetimes. And that brings me to this bigger theme of Pluto in Aquarius, because I was born with Pluto in Leo. And there was a generation, remember flower children? Remember the, quote, hippies? Remember the anti-war movement back in the 60s? Remember the early days of rock and roll? These were all Pluto and Leo creations, as well as, you might say, the Vietnam War, racial, the various liberation movements, women's liberation, gay liberation, indigenous liberation, and the civil rights movement. Liberation movements were born of this era through the people who were born with Pluto in Leo. What else happened, Pluto in Leo? Well, okay, the generation was young and idealistic during the 60s and into the 70s, and change happened. And then many of those people went on to become the so-called yuppies. I can only speak for myself and the people that I know. We are natural foods and natural health, and ultimately nature-based spirituality and social justice people. We are those people, and we are also from the age of individualism. Pluto and Leo people bring in, there's an element of me first. There's an element of, and this is not true. It is not an inaccurate statement to say that I am at the center of my own universe. This is kind of the way it is. We are an entity to ourselves. We have our unique relationship to life, and we relate to others. And what we do not understand, and I don't want to get too far off track with this, but this is why I'm wanting to talk about it so I can sort it out. What we have to recognize is that we are on the center of our own wheel, astrology wheel, medicine wheel, wheel of life. So is everybody else, but there's only one center. And that's what we have trouble remembering. There's only one center. We are all on the center together. And for us, that center is Earth, Mother Gaia, our planet. And so some of us love her and connect with her and have an intimate relationship with her. Some of us don't understand her. Some of us exploit her. And so here is where Pluto is entering entering Aquarius. And those of us who have Pluto in Leo can look across the sky and say, what have I wrought? Or more accurately, what have we created in the last 60, 70, 80 years? And those of us who are still alive, who have Pluto in Leo, we are elders and crones. We are initiated into wisdom. Many of us have positions of power and leadership within the system. And honestly, we are at a complete divide over what that looks like and what we are leading people to. And this is not a neat and pretty picture that I'm wanting to draw. But this might help. I will say this, I will complete this thought. We who were born with Pluto in Leo have a responsibility to really dig deep into what Pluto in Aquarius represents. Aquarius is the sign of the collective and the community. It is the needs and intentions of the individual must be in service to the collective. It's not that they don't matter and only the collective matters. That is some kind of fascism or is some kind of ism. But what it means is that what we have inside of us must emerge and serve the collective. And it also must serve the center. And we have established that center is nature, earth, mother, life. I can feel a lot of other things starting to want to emerge. Those will be for other transmissions. So Pluto, trying to think, no. Pluto is not an ancient ruler. That would be Saturn, would be the ancient ruler of Aquarius. And Uranus is the contemporary ruler of Aquarius. So Pluto is bringing Scorpio energy into Aquarius. And if we look at where the chart is this day, which in many ways sets the tone, we can choose for it to. We have Black Moon Lilith rising in Virgo. We have Nessus and Mary Magdalene conjunct in Pisces. We have, this one's big, Venus and the galactic center conjunct in Sagittarius. We have Lilith asteroid, the disowned feminine within, opposite Sedna, who speaks of the abuse of the feminine by the masculine in charge and what happened next. And that's a whole story, but it very much speaks to a collective trauma. And so these two planets, the disowned feminine and Sedna, they both have reverberations of collective trauma perpetuated on the daughter, the female child, the feminine. And that is alive and awake at this moment. Nessus is ancestral traumas. Mary Magdalene is the teacher of pure Christ-like love, the divine feminine version of Christ's consciousness. So they are together. And the galactic center is the black hole that I talked about earlier, the darkness that absorbs all light. And yet, to know that a black hole exists, we look at what is called the accretion disk. There is the black hole gives off tons of energy in all wavelengths of light as it is pulling things in. And Venus right now is conjunct that moment. So this is ground of being. This is what the Buddhists call it. Ground of being energy that is activated at this moment where Pluto is stepping into Aquarius and bringing transformation, death and rebirth and truth, death, rebirth, and truth to the collective. Now, someone I read this morning says there's a lot of energy around this death and rebirth. And once again, our consciousness goes instantly to the battle of dark and light. May the good prevail. May the light prevail. And Pluto doesn't care. Like so many forces in the universe, our very souls for that matter, they don't care what we have to go through. They're not here to make nice. Pluto's not here to make nice. Pluto is actually neutral. He will change what's in his presence. So we don't look to Pluto to do the thing. We look to ourselves. And we look to our collective self because we are all in this together. We, as human beings, have values. We know right and wrong. And it's insane that we don't agree about what is right and what is wrong, and that our values seem opposed. Values. This is what matters. This is what is right and good. And I look at that and I say, No, that's horrible. This is what is right and good. What are we going to do? Well, Pluto may well sort us out without judgment on which one of us is, quote, right. But each of us, from our consciousness, our conscience, our sense, I say, if it's good for the women and children, if it is good for, ironically, individual sovereignty, if it's good for the self-expression of all beings, then it is good for the highest good. Because we are tribal creatures. We human beings, we are primates. We do not live separate from others. And we will remember how to live in a village again, even if we're forced to, because the culture and the society as we know it crumbles. Now, as a woman, as a part of my message is, fuck the patriarchy. We are bringing down the patriarchy and rising with matriarchy, which is a more loving and peaceful and inclusive way of structuring the world. It shifts the balance from the leaders and the ones on top and the government and the institution, and shifts that power to caring for the mothers and the children and the earth. That is what matriarchy does, by definition. But what will it cost me? I am a beneficiary of patriarchy. I am a white woman of the Pluto and Leo generation. I am among the holders of wealth, whether it's in the form of Social Security and Medicare at my age, or savings and retirement plans, or, real estate, the things that I have in my life that are truly abundant and that people of other generations are actually deeply struggling with. There is more wealth concentrated probably in the Pluto and Leo generation than any other generation since then. So coming back, let me wind this up by affirming our responsibility as elders, the people who are still alive in the Pluto and Leo generation, have a responsibility to rectify and to remember the values that inspired the social change movements of the 60s and 70s, and rectify the mistakes we have made in our hyper-individualism that arose from that energy of Pluto and Leo. And our responsibility is not to fix it necessarily, because we are old and dying. We won't be around. But we do need to support and mentor and enable the younger generations, instead of we have to do everything we can to make it possible for them to thrive in the world that we have bequeathed them. And it seems like a raw deal. I have seen the posts about this. You gave it to us a mess and told us to clean it up. Well, that is the way it is. And we must not abandon them to clean it up. We can't just die off and say, I got mine. And how does that look? And what does that mean? I'm not even sure. I think there is more to be revealed, and perhaps in my own personal chart where I talked about how Pluto is going to affect my life based on what I've got in the early part of Aquarius, based on the length of life I have left to me. I'm looking at it now and saying, wow, it would be cool to make it to my Pluto opposition when Pluto's at 25 Aquarius. This is what I want you to take away. First off, if you are not in the Pluto and Leo generation, if you're younger than that, where is Pluto in Aquarius landing in your chart? It is giving you some energy for the next generation, the next 20 years. Some energy to work with. And this business of light and dark, being able to move with ease, to be a master of this experience of light and dark, death and rebirth as a part of your spiritual practice, as a part of your daily life, as something that you can carry in your body with ease. And if you are Pluto and Leo generation, mentoring your own children and grandchildren, mentoring the young people who are coming up into leadership. Using our privilege, our resources, our wisdom to make the world better. Make right decisions now. If we didn't do it 20 years ago, if we didn't do it in 1973, the first Arab oil embargo, President Jimmy Carter then said, we've got to do something about this. And his and the forces at work said, no, you're not. That takes profits out of our pockets. So we go back. We remember. We examine our lives. We count our blessings. We extract the wisdom. We do our healing work. And we support the next generation, the generations after us, to do theirs. I'm thinking about how if they look at us and find us expendable, don't be expendable. Don't be expendable. Be humble and be powerful. The two are not mutually exclusive. And we are staring death in the face through longevity, if for no other reason. And so we are masters of light and dark, and we can show them how it's done. I hope this has been useful. We all have some serious learning to do with Pluto and Aquarius. None of us alive has ever seen this before. I wish you a glorious weekend, and find some time to sit in the dark and let the light seep in. Farewell.